Hello, I'm Zeinab Badawi. Welcome to this world debate, coming to you from the headquarters of the World Conservation Union, just outside Geneva in Switzerland. All the world's environment ministries, along with major conservation organisations, belong to this union. And right now there is considerable alarm that greenery like this could soon become a thing of the past in some parts of the world. In every continent, deserts are getting ever bigger, farms are turning into dust bowls and rivers could run dry. The United Nations reckons that at least 1 billion people worldwide face threats to their livelihood from desertification and drought. To draw attention to this silent disaster, they've made 2006 the year of desertification. Scaremongering or justifiable fears? We'll be discussing this in a moment, but first let's hear some views in this short film.
The most important issue for China is population, I think. All the land degradation, or you call it desertification issues, are root caused by population.
Everyone is talking about global warming and the desert moving northwards. What are we going to do?
It's estimated that Haiti loses around 30 million tons of soil every year. Any economic revival will have to come through agriculture. The situation is very serious and a real threat to the life of the country.
The dunes are very threatening, very threatening. They're everywhere. Look, there. The threat is everywhere. That's my village over there. It's practically taken over by dunes. They are eating up the whole environment.
If you can't get a good price for your crop when you take it to market, what incentive do you have to invest in your land, to conserve the soils, to add fertiliser, and to keep the whole system and your soil in good heart? So the question I want to ask the panel is, given that the world trade negotiations seem to have crashed, and those negotiations were supposed to get rid of these big farming subsidies that are paid out in North America and Europe, what prospects are there for getting a fairer deal for African dryland farmers?
Well, to take a closer look at these issues, we have our panel here. First of all, we have Rosamund McDougall, an advisor to the Optimum Population Trust, which takes the view that pressures on the environment come from unsustainable levels of population growth. Ibrahim Thiaw is from Mauritania in West Africa. His family were refugees from a conflict over dwindling pasture land. For a quarter of a century, he's been involved in tackling desertification. He's currently the acting chief of the World Conservation Union. Sunita Narain, director of India's highly regarded Centre for Science and the Environment, a pioneer in environmental issues. She combines hard science with hard-nosed campaigning. Mersmann from the United Nations body tackling desertification worldwide has the unenviable task of finding the money to do this. He's worked extensively in Africa. Fatima Jibrell has travelled all the way from northern Somalia for this debate. She's received international recognition for her tireless work in drawing attention to and combating the degradation of natural resources in the Horn of Africa. And we have Martin Sommer from the Swiss Development Corporation. He's a specialist in food security. He's had widespread experience of working in countries threatened by desertification like Pakistan and India. Welcome to you all. Sunita Narain, all these dire warnings of desertification and drought, isn't this just climate alarmism? You make it sound as though civilizations are close to collapse.
Zeinab, remember, climate is not alarmism. It's coming home. 10 years ago, you would say climate change is only a figment of somebody's imagination. It's happening. It's the same thing with deserts. Let's be very clear about this. We are talking about large number of people living on lands which are getting increasingly degraded and large numbers of land which are getting more and more water stressed. We are in trouble in those lands. But what worries me, and this is really what I think we need to discuss more and more, is we are worried about the problem, but we don't really care. And more than that, we seem every time we try and make a difference. We actually get the answers wrong. And I think that's really what the world should be worried about, how little it understands about the problem.
But Martin Sommer, precisely how much does the world understand about desertification and drought? Because you people all say it's happening, but actually you cannot say with any real certainty that this is what's going to happen in 50 years' time, that the rivers are going to run dry and there's going to be more desertification.
Perhaps we don't have the comprehensive knowledge, but we all see around the globe all sorts of indications that things are changing every day more rapidly. We see the Gobi Desert in China advancing by almost 10,000 square kilometers every year towards the densely populated areas. We see the glaciers melting in the Himalayas, in the Andean region, in the Swiss Alps just behind us. We see the aquifers going down in big cities, where more and more people from the deserted lands are moving to and in search for a new livelihood.
But the fact of the matter is you do not know whether in the future there's going to be more rain, so this land which is becoming semi-arid or arid, it might bounce back for all you know.
That's perhaps true, but...
so it's true?
The point is that we have to act today, and I fully agree with Sunita. We do not have the time to make investigations into all the complexities of global climate change systems.
Christian Mersmann, though, I mean, the fact of the matter is, for lots of people out there, they really don't know what's going on. I mean, we're told that there's flooding in Bangladesh, in parts of Latin America. We've got desertification and drought in other parts of the world. People don't know what the problem is. Too much water, too little water.
We know what the next crisis will be, particularly in developing countries. We have to start addressing the issues at a different level. I think we know a lot about the technicalities. We know a lot about the root causes of desertification and the advancing of deserts. What we do not know, and Martin has indicated that, what we do not know is how to increase the willingness of governments to invest into the issues of desertification.
Because they're not convinced of the problems. You say, well, we want you to act today because we think this is going to happen tomorrow. And people say, well, we've got more immediate pressing problems now. How do we tackle malaria, poverty, climate change? Well, we're not convinced.
Quite so, quite so. Many governments of North and South are not yet convinced that major investments have to be taken and that we have to work together against desertification.
And Ibrahim, Thiaw, I mean, that's the point. Developing countries think we've got all these problems, let's put climate change with them. It's another way of getting more assistance from the international community, more development aid. I mean, it helps you do that, doesn't it?
People tend to say that this is a problem, but we are not moving. We have conventions, we have meetings and conferences, but we are not moving forward. More and more people are suffering, and the world at large will be suffering from it because we are all interconnected.
Rosamund McDougall, I mean, do you buy this argument that desertification and drought is a major contributory factor to the problems of the world?
Yes, of course. But what I'd like to see is the same sort of concern expressed about population growth, because what's happening now is that we have scientists and environmentalists attracting attention to the solutions that are needed for these ecological problems, but we really haven't got any universal political will for looking at sustainable population sizes and how we arrive there.
We'll come to that a little bit later in the programme, but you accept then that there is environmental degradation going on a vast scale across the world?
Absolutely.
Martin Sommer, why don't you set the scale of the nature of the problem for us? How real is the threat of desertification and drought worldwide?